Sumter Today is presented by the Sumter Opera House, USC Sumter, and Prisma Health.
So the South Carolina Lede is a podcast that we created to fill the void for news consumers that don't really follow the news like everyone else does every day on whether it be newspapers or TV. A lot of people just don't keep up with it. So we saw that need for a podcast in South Carolina, so we created the South Carolina Lede, which started as a once weekly podcast where we talked to reporters about the big stories of the week. And then when COVID came around, we switched gears immediately to 3 days a week to cover all the news that was happening, whether it's economic, medical, or politics, which is still our bread and butter. And since then, we've downgraded about to 2 podcasts a week now. So we drop one on Tuesday and Saturday. And we're still kind of keeping up with what's going on at the State House, letting people know what's going on with the delegation in DC, a variety of politics and news that people maybe don't keep up with. And we do it in a fun way so people are engaged and they're not turned off by it. So politics, business, medical, which is still very important, especially with COVID going on. So kind of keep it all real so people know what's happening. We've been doing these live tapings around the state for, I guess, a few years now, but we've taken 2 years off since COVID. And when we do these, we have journalists come on with us so we can talk about a variety of issues and engage with the public too, who might have questions about State House coverage or primary coverage, which we'll be talking about next week. So I'm going to have Maayan Schechter, who's the politics editor at the state newspaper, and then Meg Kinnard, who's Associated Press politics reporter here in South Carolina too, come on. And we'll talk about the State House wrapping up because there's a few weeks left and some big issues still going on. We expect to see some leadership changes going on in the House, especially with the Republicans changing hands, and Merle Smith, who's representative here in Sumter, going to be becoming leader. So that's going to be a big one, being Speaker of the House. So we'll be talking about those items and also just what's going on with the primaries and the campaign trail ahead of the June 14th primaries. So it should be pretty informative, especially for people who've been following this stuff and people who don't maybe know what's going on too. It's just a good way to get involved.
USC Sumter, to me, is the opportunity to get a start, to learn and to grow, and to know that the step you took here is going to be an important foundation in the future.
They make it so easy to learn here, and their doors are always open. Like I said, they're all approachable.
My wife is in the service. I have a 7-year-old, a 5-year-old, and a 10-month-old at home. I was able to get my courses all in the morning. I can study and I can take time and treat it like a job and focus on my studies, and then after I can focus on family.
The whole genesis of the podcast was really to let people know that journalists are people too, that we cover stories, that we live in these communities, that we are not the enemy, that we don't create fake stories, because we're really just trying to inform people. A big reason why we started the podcast was to let people know that you do have a state representative, you do have a state senator. These are the people affecting things at the local level, not what's happening in DC and Nancy Pelosi or Donald Trump or Lindsey Graham. While they're all important, more big stuff happens at the local level. And if you don't even know what's happening here, then you really should be worried about what's happening in DC. So starting with those fundamentals so people understand what's going on, and then also introducing them to people who write these stories, who can answer them, who are experts in this area, and to show them that, you know, it's not fake news, it's real. The news is real, and we're just trying to inform you so you can be more educated. Just trying to let you know that, hey, you know, at the State House, they're doing X, Y, and Z that could affect you in your pocketbook or your kid's education. Here's what you need to know. Here's what's important. It's easy to get caught up in this big news cycle because maybe you're just watching cable news all day and you're reading what you want to read on Facebook because the algorithm tells you what you like, you know? So you get caught up in these cycles, and what we're trying to do, at least with the podcast and with our products at ETV and public radio, is just to break through that and let you know, hey, here's what we're doing, here's what the real news is, here's how it's affecting you.